Well, certainly innovation is alive and well at Medtronic, and here to tell me about it is Senior Vice President at Medtronic, Steve Oesterle. Thank you so much for being here,
nice
Steve.
To be here.
Do providers understand that eventually it will be worth it to make these innovative devices available to patients down the road when they become available?
It's our responsibility. Again, we're in the medical device implant business. Some people may know of Medtronic from our pacemakers and defibrillators, but some of the innovative things that we're doing is actually implanting sensor technology, Mabel, that would allow us to not just monitor devices, but actually monitor the patient. And so one good example of that is a device that we're working on for treating patients with congestive heart failure. This is a massive expense to the American healthcare system. Hospitalized patients with heart failure consume somewhere in the range of $35 to $40 billion a year of money in the healthcare system. We are pretty confident that by implanting a small, deeply miniaturized, powered sensor in the pulmonary circulation, blood flow of the heart, that we can actually monitor pulmonary pressures remotely, wirelessly, and be able to call out those patients who are getting into trouble and keep them out of the hospital by preemptively treating them in one form or another. It's an example that we're also using in diabetes. We have the ability to remotely monitor children with brittle diabetes who are taking insulin infusions. They wear wearable glucose sensors that communicate to the pump, but they can also communicate to their hand phones. And so we have a plan to remotely monitor these kids when they're at school, at camp, sleeping at night, to basically make sure that they're not on trajectories to low blood sugar that would threaten their well-being. So these are examples of using technology that exists in America in the wireless communication information technology world to converge it into devices. And it's sort of a unique American story of devices where, again, America clearly leads the world in medical device technology. It's one of our major exports, and one of the interesting stories is that we have the ability to converge other technologies into devices, not just the information technology, communication technology we were talking about, but we're currently converging biotechnology into devices. So a good example of that would be that there are some really interesting proteins that can be delivered into the brain that can treat diseases like Parkinson's disease, Alzheimer's disease. The problem, Mabel, is that it's almost impossible to give these proteins into the bloodstream and get them into the brain. The brain doesn't want them there. So we use devices, catheters, to actually navigate into the brain, hook them up to infusion pumps, and now we have ability to deliver therapeutic proteins into the brain to treat really severe neurological diseases. It's another example of converging biotechnology into devices.
Well, how many of these applications or actually devices are available to the general public? If you hear about something like this, can you actually ask for it?
Well, the things that we're talking about are in a development cycle. Pressure sensors for heart failure will be available in 3 to 4 years. They're already in clinical trials. We're in clinical trials with infusing drugs into the brain as well. There are some of these that are available today. We have very profound treatments for Parkinson's disease where we put stimulating leads deep into the brain to treat Parkinson's disease. So a lot of the technology that we have for targeting these areas of the brain exists, and we have products. We're working with other pharma companies, biotechnology companies to deliver these therapeutic proteins, protein interference. They're probably 4 or 5, 6 years away, but they're definitely real.
Definitely. Now, in terms of healthcare reform, we've talked a lot with companies about what they need to do to cut costs and to make themselves more efficient, but will that also hurt money spent on innovation?
Well, I don't think so. I mean, we have a clear intent to develop devices that will actually be saving the healthcare system money. I gave you the example where these pressure sensors in the pulmonary circulation will keep maybe a third of the patients out of the hospital who otherwise would consume 10, 15 billion in healthcare cost in the hospital. There is still a very vibrant innovation community in the United States around devices. It's largely funded through the venture capital world. Large companies like Medtronic or Boston Scientific, St. Jude are public companies. And although we spend a lot of money on R&D, it's largely development. I think a lot of the really most interesting breakthrough stuff is actually being done not necessarily at Medtronic, but in very small companies. And again, this is a unique American story. We have more risk capital, Mabel, than any other country. There are some pockets in Israel where this is going on, some pockets in China where this is going on. But by far the large amount of money that's being spent in venture is being spent in the United States on startup companies here.
So do providers understand that eventually it will be worth it to make these innovative devices available to patients down the road when they become available?
It's our responsibility, not the providers. We have to give them the clinical evidence that not only is this cool, not only is it really interesting technology that's safe and effective, but we have to provide the clinical data that would suggest that this is cost effective to use these devices. So, for example, we have a business in an infusion pump for insulin. We have created the data to show that not only is this a kind of convenient and logical way to give insulin, but that if you do it correctly with a sensor, that you can actually have a better outcome for the diabetic patients. In the long run, the healthcare companies that are responsible for the care of these people realize that by investing in technology up front, it saves them at the far end in terms of end-stage complications of something like diabetes.
Right. All right. Well, Steve, thank you so much for stopping by today.
It's my pleasure to be here. Thank you.
Very interesting.
Yeah, nice to see you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I'm Mabel Jong. You're watching the World Healthcare Congress in Washington, D.C.